let me take couple of minutes to explain the DSCR rationale, why some banks are insisting on 1.75 times, or say for that matter even 1.5 times. Why banks are insisting on DSCR of 1.5 or 1.75 and not just 1? Because if DSCR is 1 for paying loan obligation of 1, they are having resources of 1, why not banks stop with that? Why they are insisting on 1.5 or 1.75? Look at this. If DSCR is 1.75 is to 1, it means for every 1 rupee obligation there is a cash profit of 1 rupee 75 paise. So from 1 rupee 75 paise, 1 rupee can be paid, and what is left with the business is this 75 paise. This 75 paise is the profit after tax, after dividend, after paying interest, and after paying principal also. So it basically goes as retained profit, and this retained profit will go to a head called reserves and surplus in balance sheet under the head equity. And equity along with other long-term liabilities will become long-term funds, and that long-term funds can be used for supporting working capital margin. If this does not make sense for you, worry not. Look at this. Your statement of profit and loss only communicates what is profit. From that we calculate cash profit. Then we compare that with the obligation and we arrive at DSCR. And if DSCR is 1.75, it means out of 1.75, 1 can be paid, 0.75 can be retained in the business. And I told you that this retained profit will go to balance sheet under the head reserves and surplus. So now this reserves and surplus along with capital will be called as equity, and this equity along with the long-term liabilities will be called as long-term funds. These long-term funds can be considered or can be used for creating long-term assets. I repeat, these long-term liabilities can be used for creating long-term assets. But if you look at the proportion, look, you have so much of long-term funds, but only a portion of long-term funds has been used for creating long-term assets. It means there is some surplus. So what's going to happen here? This business is also raising some short-term funds. It is creating short-term assets. The short-term assets are more than the short-term funds. How it was made possible? Because short-term funds are very small, but short-term assets are much bigger than that. It was made possible because the remaining surplus of long-term funds, the remaining surplus of long-term funds has been utilized for creating this short-term assets. Now try to link with our fund utilization principle. We said a portion of current asset should be funded by short-term funds and another portion should be funded by long-term funds. Because I said I marked it as ideal. Utilizing the long-term funds for creating short-term assets is ideal because that is going to relieve the business from liquidity pressure. So if a business is having a DSCR of 1.75, that 0.75 gets retained in the business. It gets retained. It becomes part of long-term funds. So that long-term funds, after being utilized for creating long-term assets, there will be some surplus. That surplus will in turn get utilized for short-term assets, and this is what we call as long-term funds used for creating short-term assets. Technically this is the net working capital. Okay, so it is not that mere profit along with capital, along with the long-term liability, they all become put together long-term funds, and they are actually supporting short-term asset creation. So this is the logic. I hope you would have understood.
Banking, credit and financial analysis. On this topic, we are conducting a free 7 days WhatsApp bootcamp. Yes, you heard it right. It's free and you are going to get the lectures, text materials in your WhatsApp for next 7 days free of cost. If you are a banking or finance professional and if you wish to achieve mastery in this domain, take your first step by joining this free bootcamp. Just comment 7D. I'll share the link with you.